With part two. At this point, we have all of our different animation, right? All the in-betweens. The character shouldn't have any pops. There shouldn't be any random elbows flying around. It should feel very smooth, very fluid, and all of the character's movement should all really just work at this point. If it doesn't mean that you can't still go back and change something. You say, oh, you know what, I need that elbow or that kneecap to move a little bit. You can still make those corrections. But really at this point, the animation should be pretty much near completion. So what are we doing for part three? Well, for part three, we're focusing less on the actual character and much more on the timeline. So down here in the bottom, we have all of our different keyframes, and depending on which element you choose, you'll see different nodes, different little anchor points appear, right? So each one of these diamonds is a keyframe. And if I grab a different element of, the character's, the puppet's body, I'll see different keyframes for just that one individual element, right? Okay. So what we really want to work on at this point is kind of the ease in and ease out. Now that might involve us kind of engaging with the timeline. So maybe, for example, let's check this out. So as my character lands, so he's coming down. I'm on his hips right now. As he lands, there's a keyframe, frame 75 right there. And then by frame 83, it's starting to come down a little bit. But you know what? I like the height, but I want it to happen a little bit quicker, a little bit kind of snappier, right? So let's see, lands, and then right about like here, that's where I want it to be. So I'm going to click once, so I highlight just that anchor point. I'm going to drag it over just there. So it happens a little bit quicker, a little bit more kind of impact. Boom, just like that. Now that looks good, but you know what? I even want this ankle right here. As it hits, look how it comes down, snap right there. I really want that ankle to kind of twist and hit the ground and kind of pop a little bit more. Well, let's see what we can do. So it might involve a little bit of animation. Maybe I kind of bend this, and maybe I move this down just a hair like that. Let's see how that looks. Comes down and pop. Okay, so there's a little bit more of that knee coming forward, a little bit more of the ankle kind of rolling forward. That looks good, but I really want it to be a little bit more, again, kind of snappy, right? I want that animation to not kind of comfortably be smooth. I want it to pop on purpose. Well, the easiest way to do that is if I'm done playing in the timeline down here, I can click on this little icon, and this will change what I see in this window, right? So I go from my timeline, that's the little clock, and I go one down to the graph editor. Now we've used the graph editor before, but it was a little bit more step-by-step previously. Now we're kind of flying. We're trying to find it ourselves. So the way it works is this. You've got these little black dots, and each one of these black dots represents a keyframe or an in-between for just this one object that's selected, in this case, his foot. And so every time I come over top of one of these dots, I know that's a keyframe. And then I've got these little anchors, these little, almost like a teeter-totter, and I can grab it and I can bend this line. And how I bend this line goes from this anchor point over, or this keyframe, over to the next keyframe. And so I can kind of ease in and ease back out. I can bend those lines, and let's see. Watch. Nice and smooth. Okay? Now let's say I want this foot to hit that ground and really snap, right? Really hard. I want a lot of impact. So that means that I need to kind of shrink and make this not smooth. I want this line to be sharp and angular, right? So let's see, as it comes in, here it comes down, and then right there, right at that keyframe, I want a really hard pop, right? Well, let's do this. Let's bend this line just a little bit. Wow, look at that. That's an extreme bend. Watch. Right? Look at how quick, snap, that really pulls, doesn't it? And we can do that with other axes. So each one of these lines is related to our axes. So the X is red, Z is blue, and this kind of green-yellow is Y. So let's go down here. Here's our Y axes, and let's really pop that as well. Let's snap that down. Watch. Here it comes in, snap. Oh, look, he's sliding a little bit. Oh, that's not good. I think that comes from how he moved this icon. Maybe we can pull it a different direction. Let's see. Oop. See? Less sliding. Here it goes down and snap. Look at that. Down, pop. See how quick? Pop. That knee bends, right? And that's because we played around with this axis. And I can bend it even more. Look how it goes on both sides, right? It pulls up and snap. Okay, here comes pop, and that transition happens much quicker, right? So how you play with this graph editor allows you to really have the final say-so over how your character moves. And we're only dealing with the one character, but he's got lots of different parts, and each one of these parts has its own graph editor, right? So I want you to play in the timeline. I want you to play in the graph editor. I do not expect your part 2 and your part 3 to look all that much different, but they should have a couple little nooks and crannies where you've really dug in to smooth that animation, or to maybe make it a little bit more jarring, depending on the kind of action that you've decided to go for. If your action is more impactful, say like a karate move, you know, he's doing a karate chop, that's going to be hard and fast. So you really want this wave of our lines here to be a lot smoother, right? If I want it to be a little bit softer, maybe he's doing some gentle ballet, well then I want these curves to ease in, and I want the curves to ease out a little bit, right? A nice smooth arc. And that arc is going to give him much more kind of realistic movement, and it's going to give him a little bit of squash and stretch as well, which is again going to make him feel that much more realistic. Okay, so play around a little bit with the graph editor, play around a little bit with your actual timing in the timeline, and when you're done, this will be part 3. Now for part 4, just to let you know, when we start part 4, we are totally done with animation, completely. So any last little bits and pieces that you want to change with your character should be wrapped up and done by the end of part 3. Part 4, we're going to get into background, props, and lighting, and then we're going to finish this whole animation. So take your time, have fun, and I'll see you guys for part 4. Bye.